are funders collaborating? And Calvin talked a little bit about how we are a little bit. Are we collaborating around the economic downturn? And I wonder, Calvin, if you can talk about what funders are doing both nationally through Council on Foundations, independent sector, and locally here, at least watching what's going on.
Contrary to, for the conspiracy theorists in the room, I apologize. But the funder, we have a very informal group, and Terry is one of the leaders of this group that get together and talk story. And we invite a lot of the funders, the ones that we know, to come and sit together and talk about things. We met in January, met again about a month ago. We're planning to meet again post what I think will be a special session in July of the legislature to kind of see what comes out. Maybe there won't be, but my guess is there will be. And so we're talking about, and we're sharing ideas and talking a lot with each other about what we're seeing. And that's been, I think, useful for all of us to share in that and see what we're hearing and everything else. No one at that meeting comes with the expectations that we're going to jointly fund stuff together. And I think we've learned the hard way, and you've seen that represented here. As diverse as you all are, and Susan Doyle's sitting out here from the Aloha United Way, she could have been sitting up here as well. You know, there's a diversity of funders that have very different approaches. Even if we share core values, there are very different approaches to how we go about our work. And so I don't see organized collaborations occurring where we pool our money and all of us would say, okay, we're going to give all our money to the food bank. But what you're seeing is a chance for the funders to pay attention to what each other's doing and looking for opportunities to complement what another funder is doing, sometimes go together, and oftentimes, you know, look for a gap that isn't being funded as an opportunity for investment. So I think it tends to happen more that way than not. You know.
I just mentioned Susan again on United Way. I know we talked to them recently to ask them for data about what they're seeing, and that's data that we're going to use to help in our grant making. I wanted to mention some of you may know of the corporate hui of corporate foundations, but it is a hui of basically all the companies that have foundations in town. And we get together every quarter and we do an analysis. People share data pretty systematically about what kind of grant requests they've received, and we share information about what we know about the organization's strengths, weaknesses, and sometimes people, representatives of the foundations might make a case for an organization or two. So, you know, I don't know if Mark Foreman from HMSA is here, but at one meeting, Mark made a proposal, and, you know, people listened to that. At another meeting, I know that one of the representatives brought to our attention the increasing demands on consumer credit counseling. And I think as a result of that conversation and discussion, several funders, you know, stepped up to the plate, and I think there was a sort of ripple effect. Calvin was involved, the city might be involved, First Hawaiian, ASB, and we all stepped up. But it was because of the discussion that occurred and our greater appreciation for what the increasing demands are in that area.
I think, like Calvin said, pulling all our money and giving jointly is probably not in the picture, and maybe not even a good thing, because we are so diverse. Funding streams need to be diverse, and Bank of Hawaii is looking at basic needs, and so perhaps the food bank would be a recipient. Hawaii People's Fund is about change, not charity, and so we are not funding basic needs. We're funding the farms that are teaching the kids to raise organic food for the future, and they need to happen simultaneously. We need to be looking towards the future as well as taking care of the urgent needs at this time. It's really inspiring. In the 6 years I've been with Hawaii People's Fund, there were some meetings of philanthropies coming together, and then there was a long dry spell. So I'm really glad that foundations are starting to come together again and talk. And I'm glad to hear that corporate givers are also meeting regularly, because I think just being at the table, sharing our experiences and listening to each other is a very good sign for all of us, for what funding means for all of us in the future.